Atomic Heart is a game about killer robots, Soviet Union, ballerinas, and the best thing yet, a granny with a rocket launcher. Released back in 2023, Atomic Heart has 41 achievements, 7 of them being story related, 5 of them being combat related, 3 miscellaneous achievements, and 15 collectible achievements. So yeah, this game has quite a lot of collectibles, but don't worry, they are not that hard to obtain. Anyway, we have one more for beating the game on the hardest difficulty, and the last achievement for getting all of the achievements in the base game. So we are presented right off the bat with our protagonist named P3 and his talking glove named Charles, riding a boat along the Soviet city. While on our right, we are introduced to Dr. Sechenov, who is a scientist and our boss, so to speak, and Stockhausen, who is another scientist and basically a weird individual that thinks that he can boss us around, but more to that later. Anyway, Stockhausen tells us that our next objective is to go to the laboratory, and after finishing our ride, we watch a really nice street performance done by a robot,
Out of pocket for that shit.
and we get the first achievement of the game, called How Can I Help You, for making a prank call.
First achievement, let's go dude.
We then, on our way to the laboratories, explore some more and gather info about how the robots are made and a substance called neuropolymer, which can help you basically learn everything while actually not learning anything. After that, we witness a parade because communism, and we reach Dr. Sechenov's office, which is inside this massive cool looking building.
I love this place.
Here,
Oh my
we
God.
see these two robots, and I gotta say, I wish they released that 6-hour sex scene they were teasing us back when the game was released. Anyway, after trying to ignore their assets, we are given the key to our transportation method. We then enter our flying vehicle and get the achievement Happy Polymerization Day for flying out of the city. But the fun is over after the robots had gone rogue and shut us down, who would have thought. And if you guys didn't guess it, the robots started to kill everybody and we have to find out why and how. Waking up, we find a conveniently placed axe, which is our first weapon for an achievement. We discover a cool feature.
What the fuck did I just do?
And we talk to Dr. Sechenov, and he's basically explaining to us that a guy named Viktor Petrov is a traitor and that he is responsible for all this chaos. So our first real mission is to track this guy down and bring him back, because he has some deactivation codes, hoping that he would stop this robotic outbreak, which, let's be serious, he won't. After getting hit literally in the first encounter with an enemy
Okay, well,
and almost dying to a cow, we meet Granny Zina, and she pulls out a rocket launcher, saving our ass twice now. We then go down a very fast elevator and we get to our first zone, being an underground complex. Here we find our first burning ear, which is basically an audio recording from NPCs throughout the game, and by collecting all of them we will get an achievement. We then watch a guy getting killed by a tentacle robot. We get a shotgun that counts toward our weapon achievement, and we find our very first save station. The first encounter with a robot goes exactly as expected. I died. And I know, at the time I was really thinking that the last difficulty was not that hard, and it was not, but I'm simply bad at video games. After looting some more, we encounter a very big worm, and we are almost crushed to death, but we are saved. Again, by an unknown girl which claims to be a doctor.
You got a name?
But our little chat gets cut short when Robocop here shows up looking like an animatronic for Five Nights at Freddy's and a mini boss fight begins. I forgot to mention we also need to scan every enemy type in the game for another achievement. After him being dealt with, we arrive at a corridor, and I gotta say, this had a better atmosphere than a lot of horror games. Seeing the dead soldiers combined with the Russian lullaby was amazing, and all I was thinking at that time was the hunters from Dead by Daylight for some reason. But this atmospheric scene ends with us getting thrown around by a horny robot named Nora, which is going to act as our upgrade station from now on. Anyway, we managed to die a couple more times due to gravity,
but I cannot make it. What, am I that bad?
and we finally get to a new section of the facility with these deadly spinny carts, which are annoying.
Oh my god, that scared the fuck out of me.
Here we talk to our first dead guy for the Necromancer achievement, which requires us to talk to the dead people. And if you guys are wondering how these dead people can talk, basically they have a chip on their forehead, and after they die, they can still talk for a short period of time until their chip basically shuts down, or that's what I understood when I played the game. We then enjoy a really calm ride with a cart or whatever, and of course we crash. We get an achievement called Polymerization for basically looting stuff, and we finally managed to find Petrov. So while we were pretending to be Solid Snake, sneaking around the stuff, Petrov was in the middle of a conversation with Larissa, the doctor that saved us earlier. We try to detain him, but of course he manages to escape and the chase starts all over again. After dealing with some of his robots, we find another gun for our weapon collection and we get another achievement called Artisan for crafting a weapon. Then we make our way into the seed bank and here we get another achievement called Bullseye for using a crate to smash this flying
Bullseye, let's
robot
go.
into the
Well,
wall.
that took a while.
And we finally find Petrov again, but I guess he was ahead of the competition. So then Sechnov informs us that we need to get out of Vavilov and go to the VDNH, but to do so we have to find 4 canisters which are located in 4 different workshops. In the Algae workshop we meet a new type of enemy, a plant parasite that can control the bodies of the dead soldiers. We then drink a bottle of vodka for an achievement called Alcoholics Anonymous for killing 5 monsters while being drunk.
Damn, I got it.
After some time, we get some info about Larissa's background and we reach a new zone, which is a greenhouse affected with these parasites. Here, we get an achievement called Assimilation Procedure Interrupted for stopping the parasite taking over a body, and after some Black Ops Zombies rounds, we get another canister getting us closer to exiting this damn place. Now for the last zone, we are greeted by an overgrown plant and a random scientist informing us that we need to find the canister of polymer, blow up this overgrown brute before he wakes up and wreaks more havoc to this place. Anyway, after a series of puzzles trying to move this container around, we managed to blow up Groot and we obtained the last canister needed to leave this place, but our friend here turns into a zombie and we sadly have to put him down. Then the music kicks in and we have a boss fight, but we defeat him first try because of the god gamer I am, and we get a combat related achievement called Avatar for killing enemies in a certain way. We then finally open up the exit door by placing all the 4 canisters around the birch tree, and we get a story related achievement called Pistils and Stamens, whatever, for leaving the Vavilov complex. Now the real fun begins because we are dipping our toes into the open world this game offers us and we have much to do. Starting out in this village, our objective is to get to the train station so that we can meet with Dr. Sechnov at the VDNH complex. So after some more enemies, we get the achievement scanner for scanning all types of the enemies in the game, which is weird because as you all can see, I was nowhere near getting the achievement. Even the guide that I was following at the time was indicating that this achievement will pop later into the game, but I'll take it I guess, I don't know. Then we find out that the village is closed and we need to find a way to deactivate the gates. While doing so, we are contacted by Granny Zina and she tells us to meet her because she can help us with everything we need. Anyway, we are saved again by Granny Zina, and while drinking a cup of tea at her place, we watch a live broadcast about a discussion between Dr. Sechnov and basically the government. Long story short, the project went to shit, and if Western people find out, things will go even worse, and Dr. Morotov says that he will personally conduct an investigation on this matter. First step being that he will pay a visit to Dr. Sechnov to see the problem with his own eyes. Dr. Sechnov, troubled of course, accepts and the broadcast ends. We say goodbye to our granny for now and we make our way to the train station, just like I said earlier in the video. On our way there, we battle more enemies, we get an achievement below 0 for freezing a Volva mid-air and we reach our destination. Here, after we find a valid train ticket, we get another achievement called Ticket Splits and we start our train ride to the main city. Of course, our train crashes, and for some reason we meet Dr. Stockhausen and he informs us that we need to initiate an emergency drill because of Dr. Morotov's coming. But now we're gonna pause our story progress because we have things to do in the open world. So we start by doing some of the testing grounds, which are like challenges that involve puzzles, fighting mobs, amazing music and so on. Every testing round includes 3 challenges and after each finished challenge there is a chest which contains weapon upgrades. So yeah, we have to complete all the testing rounds and have to collect all the rewards inside of them for 2 achievements. After finishing our first testing round, we get 2 another achievements in the open world. One is called Hothead, requiring us to get 25 headshot kills with a Makarov, which is easy to do on these guys because they are all head,
Way out of pocket.
and Hands on the Hood for running over 20 enemies with our car. Then, after one more testing round, we get another series of achievements. Left Hand Master for fully upgrading one skill tree, We then craft every single type of consumable for the chemist achievement and weapon master for creating 5 types of weapons, and by doing that we also progress towards our Lord of War achievement. After all of that, I proceed to get my ass kicked a lot by Pliushk. I'm not gonna even try to pronounce his name correctly, because I was either bad at dodging his attacks or I was managing poorly my resources. I legit hated this guy so much, and he wasn't even that hard to fight, I was just bad. At one point I even managed to get him stuck, but I still died. Anyway, after some more attempts, I stunlock him somehow. I think he just gave up because I was so bad, and we managed to defeat him, getting the achievement Pliushk Rush. Back in the open world, I collect the last gun blueprint, and by crafting it we get the achievement Lord of War for collecting all the weapons. And with our railgun equipped we get another achievement called Triple Penetration for killing 3 enemies with a single railgun shot. By the way, I don't know if I said this already, but the music in this game is fucking amazing. I mean, listen to this. Then I decided to get back to the story. So, P3 and Charles need to go to this exhibition area, but of course the main entrance is locked and we have to take the scenic route. We then find ourselves in the most boss area looking zone, and damn right, another boss battle begins. Here we have to defeat Hedgie by making him ram into these pillars without shooting him or meleeing him once for an achievement. Anyway, we manage to defeat him and we get the achievement making ground for killing Hedgie, but the other achievement did not pop, the one where you defeat him by using these pillars that I mentioned 20 seconds ago. I gotta say, a bit annoyed, I searched the internet and apparently the achievements are quite bugged, and the solution was to unequip everything, including the spells or whatever, and to reload my save and beat him again. After defeating him, we finally get the achievement Strike, and I was still nervous because it took me a minute or so to pop. Revealed, we find that the main door of the VDNH complex is locked. Shocker, and we solve a puzzle to gain access inside the facility. But while doing so, P3 and Charles have a chat about the whole situation, and the suspicion about Dr. Sechnov starts to rise because he's trying to conceal the whole catastrophe from the government. Basically, Molotov wants to put Sechnov in jail so that he could claim the collective project for himself. After that, Charles explains to us that the project collective is a collective mind where everyone connected to it will know everything about each other. So basically a hive mind. Moreover, we learn that some people will have special authority over the others in this collective mind known as alpha and beta connectors. In conclusion, Molotov wants the alpha connector for himself, and to get them he needs Dr. Sechnov gun. Anyway, we eventually get inside the VDNH complex and we meet a Tereshkova robot, basically one of the last type of robots who will likely not kill us, I hope. We do another small puzzle to get the door open and we learn that to engage the whole complex into a military drill mode, we need 2 Tereshkova robots, but the other robot is scattered throughout the facility and we have to find her parts.
That sure beats looking for him blind.
After a long series of activities, we manage to find all the parts and put the robot back together. Then a cutscene plays out where the 2 robots successfully launch the drill mode, but a bunch of military dudes show up along with Molotov and Stockhausen. So I suppose we were too late. So a discussion between Sechnov and Molotov starts, where Molotov states that there are countless casualties even though the situation was supposed to be under control. Furthermore, Sechnov will be put under investigation and the collective project will be cancelled. Sechnov then says that he will personally be there so that he can talk in private with Molotov, but our boy P3 begins to dart nervously around the room. Then we get transported into another world. Listen, I don't know what was happening here either. Here we are dressed as a furry and we have to follow a weird voice around the place. Also we have to collect all these apples for an achievement called Apple Pie. We finally wake up and, surprise surprise, all the military dudes are dead, including Dr. Molotov. And we are also accompanied by Dr. Sechnov and these 2 robots. Then the twins start some kind of weird summoning ritual where this goo monster shows up and devours Molotov's body. We also find out that Petrov isn't really dead and he's trying to inform the government about all this mess, so we have to go and stop him. We then get the achievement Quite an Achievement for completing the VDNH complex and our chase starts again. Making our way to a communications facility, we complete another testing round and we find Petrov and Filatrova, but we get zapped. Anyway, after waking up strapped to this operating table, we ruin these two lovebirds' relationship. We manage to escape, but so does Petrov. We do find his whereabouts, him being into a theater, and after some calls, where he explains to us that basically Sechnov wants to enslave the humankind with his project, we put our story progress to a short halt because we have more testing grounds to do. Anyway, I'm going to save you guys some time because no one wants to see me struggle with these basic puzzles, and I'm just going to show you the moments where I get the golden chests. Then we get an achievement called Beast Friend for finding all the talking animals. Back to story progress, it's time for the second major boss fight of this game, one which will give us 2 achievements. The first one is for defeating him, and the second one is for doing so with a melee weapon, so you know this boss is gonna be a pain in the ass. After a couple of attempts where I died, we managed to bring him down on the 5th attempt, getting the 2 achievements medium rare and chop chop chop. Now we take the elevator down into this theater in our search to find Petrov. Here we get a little bit of a background roar about this facility that we are in, being the first theater to use robots as performers, and sometimes these performers will do something a little extra, if you know what I'm saying. Also, we learn that Petrov used to work here, so he knows the facility's layout well. So, to sum up this area of the game, we find more of these robots, we kill more enemies, we do some puzzles, and after some time where Petrov's sanity starts to drop, we eventually bump into him and a cutscene plays out. Here Petrov tells us again that Dr. Sechnov is not a good guy as we think, but us being dumber than a rock, we keep telling him to off himself, and guess what? He just does that. We then report back and we are told by Dr. Sechnov to hold on Petrov's head for now. Then the third main boss fight begins, but this time there are no combat related achievements to this boss, so we just have to defeat her. After that we get an achievement for eliminating the boss called Show's Over, and we are contacted again by Dr. Sechnov asking us if we found a pair of rings on Petrov's body, but we choose to tell him that we do not have the rings, even though Petrov gave them to us before dying. And if y'all are wondering what those rings are used for, they are the beta connectors that we talked about earlier that could give a person a higher authority in the collective project. Anyway, we have a little discussion about what happened with Charles, and we get the achievement Carton for finishing this zone, and we need to head out to the Pavlov complex. On our way there, we push through a mutant infested bridge and we arrive at the last testing ground, getting the achievement Explorer for finding all of the testing grounds, and after completing it we get 2 more achievements. More Than Profit for looting all the loot yagins, and Cleanup for completing all of the testing grounds. We then reach an infirmary, getting another achievement called Medical Checkup, and here we have to find the entrance to the Pavlov complex. Inside the facility, we start the zone with a banger and a lot of mutants to kill. We get a DLC achievement called Ultimate Storm, and we finally manage to kill all the mutants around this area. I gotta say, this was way harder than any of the boss fights until now. Moving on, we reach the labs area of the facility, and here we get another 2 achievements: the Necromancer for talking to every dead body for the base game, and Burning Ears for acquiring all those cassette tapes that I talked about at the beginning of the video, which again is weird because this achievement should have popped a bit later into the game. In the end we find Stockhausen, getting another achievement called Freedom Reflex, and we hand him Petrov's head, but Filatrova does a cameo appearance and throws a grenade, killing Stockhausen in the process. And we get transported again into that weird world, which soon we will learn that is called Limbo. Here, while the TikTok music plays around, we experience some flashbacks and we follow a blob around while doing some parkour. That blob is apparently called Teardrop, and it has the same voice we heard when we got transported the first time in this place. We eventually wake up with no one around, but of course Stockhausen's corpse got devoured, probably by the same goo monster, so that there will be no traces left. Then we are contacted by Filatova saying that Dr. Sechnov is lying, shit, and she will show us the truth, so we need to meet her at the academy. Now with a new objective in mind, we talk to Charles, and he's basically saying that we should destroy the beta connectors because no one can be trusted. He's goddamn right, and we begin our second to last boss of this game. Being the god gamer that I am, we defeat him first try and we get the achievement Dew Point. Anyway, P3 then decides to throw the rings into the ocean. Surely in a world with this much technology, no one will find them. Then we are contacted by Sechnov saying that the robots have returned to normal state, so we can report back to him for them. And we finally meet Filatova at the academy. Now, this being the last zone of the game, some heavy lore is about to drop, so stand by. Basically, Filatova explains to us that Sechnov will be able to control not the robots, but everyone connected to the collective project. Then Filatova proceeds to take us into a massive room with a lot of people imprisoned. She then tells us that all of these people are basically mindless puppets with their consciousness transported to the world we call Limbo, and their bodies can be controlled by anyone with high authority into the project. Then we start to have hallucinations again, but Filatova notices that and tells us that these are reactions to the presence of a neuropolymer implant. More questions starts to rise, and we learn that our glove is actually Chariton Zaharov, a renowned professor that was allegedly pronounced dead after a work incident. Afterwards, we learn that he was the one developing a big part of the collective project and that he ran a number of experiments on himself, getting unalived in the process. Then we get access to the Academy's archive and we learn what really happened to us in the past. So we find out that we were once a known spatial agent and we were sent with another agents in a mission in Bulgaria. Things went south and all of the agents were pronounced clinically dead, but P3 got lucky. However, all of his limbs were destroyed, so they were replaced with prostheses. Moreover, we learned that besides that our limbs were destroyed, we suffered a severe brain injury, where our frontal lobe was completely destroyed, resulting in uncontrollable rage and hallucinations. We learned that these hallucinations are a cause of P3 not accepting his wife's death, and that they implanted a chip inside his head with artificial memory so that he can cope with his loss. But the best of all, we learned that even P3 can be switched to a mindless puppet when he's transported to the world called Limbo, so that explains why Molotov, including the army guys, were found dead. We then decide to turn on Sechnov, and while Filatova is taking our escape route, we learn that our wife was a spatial agent just like us in the same team. We also learned that the metal twins are programmed after her combat prowess. But the worst thing happened, because we start to hallucinate again while we were in the elevator with Filatova, so you know what that means. Waking up, we are saved by Granny Zina and she reveals to us that she was our mother-in-law, so we then are presented with a choice: we either unalive Sechnov or we walk away. But you bet your sweet ass off, we are not going to let Sechnov escape. We enter the Chalome building and basically the first phase of the last boss fight begins, where we have to find only one of the twins. We managed to beat her first try, not gonna lie, the fight was pretty fun, and she runs off. Moving on, we finally reach our goal destination and we confront Dr. Sechnov. Long story short, Chariton, which is our glove, and Sechnov start arguing with each other about who is manipulating who, but our guy gets a little impatient and the last boss fight battle begins. So after a questionable start of our fight, we come victorious, getting the achievement Murderous Beauty. But of course, the second achievement did not pop, so I have to do the fight again, finally getting Atomic Heart for completing the game on the last difficulty. And ultimately, we get the achievement that the Motherland does not forget his heroes, for getting all of the achievements in the game. Now, we watch our last cutscene in which we shoot Dr. Sechnov, but surprise to fries, the real Vera was Chariton all along. He then transforms into the goo monsters and unalives Sechnov for good, ending the game. That was Atomic Heart, ladies and gentlemen. An amazing game which I recommend to you all, especially if you are a fan of the Bioshock series, because it kinda gives me the same vibes. I will definitely play and 100% the DLCs because I wanna know what happens next and all, and I'll give this game a 8.5 out of 10, based only and purely on my opinion. I guess the only downside I have was that some of the achievements were buggy, and I don't know if it was the game's fault, Steam's fault, or even my fault. But yeah, I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.